Hello and welcome into the Sorare Data Show. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare. Happy Friday to everybody. Talking about time today. I think I was on time today. I think we've been on time more often than not. So, just recognize that. Anyway, thanks everyone for coming in. Bob, first in. Hello, Bob. Ben Johnson and Scosmo, from ETH to fiat to time. Will we be getting the Time wallet to onboard mainstream users for the next boom? That is a phenomenal line, Scosmo. Oh, yeah. Hold on. Bob, Ben, and Scosmo, congratulations on your podiums today. Hopefully, the stream podium was just the first of many podiums that you'll have this game week. We'll see. Let's see who else is here. Carrie, I'm still trying to catch up on yesterday's stream whilst enjoying my summer vacation, loving the content. Thank you for watching it. And I hope you were enjoying that vacation. Seems like you are while you're enjoying it. Kevford probably won't make this live, so just hello and we'll watch later. That was, about 10 minutes ago. Ben Johnson, this title is reminding me of that Justin Timberlake film. Which one? He doesn't even have that many, but I don't know which one we're talking about here. I don't know. John Andrews, what's up? Nixon, if time was the currency of Sorare, then my bank account have a couple thousand more euros in it. Mike Basson, it's Friday, 5 p.m. It's stories with Laird time. I don't know how many stories I'm gonna tell today. I might not have any stories. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Need some easy listening for setting MLB lineups. I just did mine. So we'll see. Fabian, what's up? Stefan, Sorare Scout. Surface, good morning. What is this? Boulder Crypto, Sissy Dragon says, I actually won a card. My card total is 3 for the last 3 years. It sounds like it's 1 in the last week. I think you're on fire. Yeah, Dream Oblivion, what's up? Blue Tomatoes. I think he means in time. Sorare Scout, when are rewards coming out? I don't know. They came out early last week, right? Oh, In Time is the name of the film. Excuse me. I didn't know that. Time is the currency in that film. Oh, I'll have to check it out. I'm pretty good, a pretty big J-Tim fan. Anyway, let's talk about time as Packus comes in. What's up? So I've been wanting to talk about this all week, and a lot of it came from my conversation with Pap on Tuesday. Is that when it was? Yeah, Tuesday. And the kind of the conversation that happened with Pap was kind of revolved around how long it takes him to put his lineups in. And this isn't a whole show about the button, I promise, but the button is going to be a topic because it's sort of the whole point of time and how we spend it, particularly when it revolves around Sorare. And speaking of which, like, everyone is here watching this because of Sorare. And so you're using your time to watch this stream. And I'm extremely appreciative that you have done that, whether you're here live in the live chat, whether you are catching this later. I appreciate that we all have a finite amount of time. And it kind of blows my mind sometimes that people are going to use it to listen to me or any of the other people that we have on this channel. More me that I'm surprised about. But thank you. So thank you for taking your time to do that. And I tweeted today asking about how long it takes people to set lineups. And that's a little bit of the conversation about the button, but less about really the button, but the button is important about it. Like Toby said, it's eating up a lot of my time. I don't know if that means Sorare or my content or the content on this channel, but yeah, I think that's kind of the part of this conversation, is that Sorare can take a lot of time if you want it to. And some people love to spend as much time as possible doing things around Sorare, whether it's scouting for players, looking at the secondary market, building lineups, looking for better matchups in the future, scouting teams, scouting players, scouting games. Like there's all stuff that goes into it. And if you really want to be good at this game and be successful, it takes time. And we've mentioned previously that the easiest way to cut out time, or cut time down, excuse me, in this game is to have a huge budget. And while that is the case, it also makes it a little harder when you do have a huge budget and you have a ton of lineups to build, and then you are spending a lot of time figuring out what to do. And I was looking at that for a little bit this week, just in terms of how many lineups people are building, how many users we actually have, and then ultimately today, like how long does it take to do your lineups? And Pap shared a video in a response to my tweet, kind of asking, and it seemed like generally a lot of people were saying that if they know exactly what competition they're entering, the amount of time it takes to like click on that entry, so let's call it like Challenger Rare Division 1, between clicking on that and having a fully submitted lineup, so it's finding the 5 players that you want in that lineup, choosing your captain and submitting it, is somewhere around 15 to 30 seconds. Now, again, that's if you know exactly who you want in that lineup. And we'll get into the time it takes to get to that point even. But generally, a lot of people were like, it's less than 30 seconds, which I generally took that as closer to 25 seconds than like 10 seconds. I feel like if it was 10 seconds, you wouldn't say less than 25. And then Pap shared this video, which I think what he does is not actually, I don't know how many people do lineups like this, but he basically does them all in the Sorare lineup builder and then toggles back and forth between the Sorare app and the Sorare Data app, so that he looks and he sees who his goalie is, and then he has Sorare Data open. I don't know why I don't just pull this tweet up, but basically he has the Sorare Data lineup builder open on his mobile app, and then toggles to the Sorare app, and it goes back and forth. And I actually think this is both efficient and wildly inefficient, because he like just remember 2 players instead of 1. This is the video basically. So he scrolls down, and Pap is in a different situation than a lot of us because he has like a ton of cards. And so like he's using this example of Cap 220 Super Rare. And so he has this already built in the Sorare Data lineup builder. So what he does, for those who are unable to watch here, is like William Yarbrough was his goalie. So then he goes into the Sorare app, searches Yarbrough, picks Yarbrough. Like he has a ton of cards. So like scrolling through to find these guys is not an option for him, or it'll just take forever. And Ben's saying I'm basically the same, only difference is I'm using 2 monitors on PC, which is pretty much what PSU fans too said. He does the same thing. But what's not really indicative, I think, in here, like this video is 1 minute and 7 seconds, and he gets 1 lineup done in 1 minute. I think it's actually much more efficient. Like literally, if he just didn't have to go back to the Sorare Data app for every player, like if you did the goalie and the defender, like you remembered it, then you could just do 2 at a time and not have to go back and forth. So I think the 1 minute and 7 is on the significantly longer side. Unfortunately, like when I was watching it, I'm like, Pap, just write it down. Just write down the 5 names, and then you don't have to keep going back to the Sorare Data app, or just remember them. But it's kind of indicative, at least, of the experience that people could have if they're building in the lineup builder and then on Sorare. Mike saying similar but toggling between desktop screens. Yeah. So like I took a video. I don't know if this is actually going to work now that I say that I took a video and I was going to show it. Let's see if this works. I don't think it's going to work. but maybe it will. Oh no, this isn't even the right video. But anyway, whatever. So I went into the lineup builder and I was like, if I knew exactly the 5 players, how long would it take me? And it generally took me between 14 and 31 seconds. And the times where it took longer, it's always longer if you don't immediately search for your player. And so if you just scroll and you have a lot of cards, like it takes a while. Like it's as simple as that. It just takes a while. And so what I was looking at this week, is the number of people who submit a lot of lineups has really grown recently. And so looking back as recently as like game week 401, I'm going to call it, 403, I happen to look at. And we're at 477 right now. So 403 is before the new gameplay, but also not that far away. Let me see exactly when that was, 403. I don't know why I didn't write down the dates also. But anyway, 403 is last August or September. So it's basically the beginning of this season. So it was the first week of September. 395 Sorare managers submitted at least 25 lineups, one of which is Nanzo here. So 395 had at least 25 lineups. Now, if you consider 25 lineups, 30 seconds a lineup, you're at 12 and a half minutes basically to submit those lineups. But that's just submitting them. And that's basically, I think, on the faster side. So 395 people were submitting 25 lineups or more at the beginning of this European season. And last weekend, there were just under 2,500 people submitting that many. 164 managers, Nanzo included, had 50 or more lineups. Now, surely there is a solution here. That the amount of time that we're taking simply inputting lineups can be shortened somehow, whether it's by Sorare or something else. And I actually think that the lineup submitter, I hate calling it a lineup builder because I don't feel like I'm actually building anything because I build everything on Sorare data. But I actually think it's okay. I don't know how that gets improved other than making it the Sorare data lineup builder, because there is so much information that is not included in the Sorare builder for good reason that I need in order to build my lineups. And that's why I don't build my lineups on Sorare. Now, SR Monkey, and I've talked to him about this a couple times, does not use the Sorare data lineup builder. And he has a ton of lineups. I also would make the argument that he knows more football than most people who play Sorare. In fact, I guarantee it. And so some of the things that are in the lineup builder, the Sorare data lineup builder, he doesn't need, and that's cool. But like the number of people who own cards of players that and you know if they're good, and then you see their matchup this week and you're like, I don't know if that's any good. Like it's probably good. Oh, they're fourth and they're playing seventh. They're away though, or they're at home, whatever it is. So like, what do you do to start figuring out if that's a good matchup? And this is where the another part of the time thing comes in. And I think that there are a lot of people who do significantly more work than needed because they think it's giving them an advantage over some of the shortcuts that are available. And I think they're wrong. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't do that, because if they enjoy that part, that's cool. But I think that there are significant ways that people could save time. And this isn't just like a use Sorare data, even though that's the answer. But let's get into that right after I get through the chat here. Sorry, guys. I started, you know what I do. way back. All right. Mike said the beauty of these streams and podcasts is that you can multitask during them. Like you say, you go out for walks to listen to Sorare content. Yeah, that's true. I was going to actually do it before this, and I just didn't get outside. Lilypad Gaming, the time you use for Sorare is relevant to how much you enjoy the tasks, scouting, building, selling, etc. Once the fun goes, the time you spend gets less and less. So absolutely true. I would also argue, though, that some people's like tasks that they enjoy are actually time wastes, and that they could actually cut that down and maybe find different things that they really like and spend time on that. And I don't mean outside of Sorare. I mean literally in Sorare. Dream Oblivion, it's an annoying process. Also switching from in-season and searching players. Academy is also hell. So this is when I should read these things beforehand. This is not a conversation about the Sorare UI, UX, either, both. I think what they have is good. I really do. I think it can be improved, but like that, everything can, I think Sorare data stuff can be improved, but I don't really want to talk about that part of it. That is part of it, but like, I don't really want to like start harping on that because it's really not that's not the point. Toby said setting the lineups doesn't take a lot of time for me. Looking for info through all the discords and stuff, that takes a lot of time. And that time it was significantly increased for a lot of people when Play Sharper stopped, because now you have to go everywhere else, and that's not really that helpful. Toby said doing it on the app and not on the desktop is serial killer stuff, though. So like more people are doing it on the app, though. Like that, more people will be playing on the app. I don't do it. Like I'm of the age where I don't trust mobile apps over desktop. Like I'll make my lineups on the Sorare Data mobile app, but I would never submit them using the Sorare app. I just don't trust it. But I'm old. The Tuggy said, I actually think building on Sorare is therapeutic. You know what? I don't disagree with you. I just don't do it at a therapeutic time. Like I started inputting my lineups today at 9:15 for a 10 o'clock deadline. There's nothing therapeutic about that. But I see where you're going with that, Tuggy. I'm not totally against that. You have like a frown emoji. No frown there. Agent Cooper, good evening. Sorare Data saves me infinite amounts of time, yet I also spend all day on there. That's a paradox. So, I mean, Sorare Data's whole point is to save time. Like everything that comes down to it, it's about saving time. That things in the Sorare Data lineup builder are available in other places, but it's all now in one. And that's sort of the point. Smooth Boy said, there's this saying that good things come to those who wait. Well, I waited for this shot at Division 1 in-season rare with my juiced up BVB stack. Can't wait for Royce to fire me to the top. It's a fun week for you, for sure. For sure. Ian, what's up? Let's see, sorry. So Rahan said, pro tip, use Alt Tab to switch quickly between screens. I prefer side by side. I happen to have like a bigger monitor, so yeah. Bob said, getting into the K-League this year takes a lot more time for research than I thought it would. I would never think that takes anything but a lot of time. Server said, lineup entry has become a drag for users with large lineups. I think he means like lots of lineups. To be honest, last night was the first time in a long time where I cut out using Sorare Data Lineup Builder to save time. So I'll get to that. Yeah. So Nanzo, I showed this before. 3 monitors, spreadsheets, web scraping, data extraction, multiple sources. It's a whole process over here. No, I'm sure. Ben said, are you at Sorare Data worried that Sorare could develop their lineup simulator and make the lineup builder obsolete? So I don't know how to nicely say this other than no. I don't worry at all. Frankly, if Sorare made their own lineup, so like I think they could add more things into their lineup builder. And there are some things that I don't think that they will ever do that we can do on Sorare data. And that's why I think it'll always be different. I also think that the people who use Sorare data and the people who work at Sorare data have a better understanding of what users want. And that's not a knock on Sorare, but it's a difference between being somebody who plays, including somebody who plays lots of lineups and has access to people who play lots of lineups, versus just having that access, if that makes sense. Like, it's very different to get feedback from people who use your product versus just being those people who use the product. And so, and that's not like a knock on Sorare employees by any means, but it's more just the realization that yes, they can play the game, but I don't think any of them, and I don't think we want them to play the game at the level that people like Nanzo or PSU fans or people even, and not to like, but like me, like I have hundreds of cards in lots of different scarcities. And I think that the way that we build lineups is just very different, particularly because Sorare's, I would imagine that the people who work at Sorare want to use Sorare's product as much as possible. So they are using it to the best that they can. And I think if you are serious about this game and serious about making the best lineups you can make, and that's not even talking about like actually getting the best cards that you can get for your budget or your gallery, I think just we'll always have an advantage in terms of knowing what people want because we're those people. And it's a big reason why the idea of like, oh, Sorare should just buy Sorare data. It's like, well, we all really love this game. And if that happens, then we can't play anymore. And is it better for us to just keep playing? Sorry, that was like a really big tangent. Agent Cooper said, high card prices used to be the biggest obstacle to new users or keeping managers long-term. Now I wonder, is it inputting lineups in the general UI in the site? I don't think inputting lineups in the general UI is like keeping people away at all. Scosmo says he uses a Miro board to track and visualize cards in his gallery, depth, news, etc., and lineup prioritization. Sorare data to use data, form, pick scores, DNP predictions, then build lineups based on isolated gallery sections from Miro. Build a script to copy names from Sorare data and enter on Sorare. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Nanzo said doing his lineups, the time it takes depends. The few hours before deadline takes the most checking on DMPs. Yeah. Ian, sorry. Is it worth trying to put together a cap MLS team now for the summer? I don't know. If you want. Toby said, so we're putting work hours and money into trying to compete with Sorare data for lineup building and scouting would be very bad allocation of resources by Sorare. So I disagree. I actually think that there are a lot of things that happen on Sorare data that should happen on Sorare. And I'm not like, lots of us at Sorare data believe this, that there are certain things that really should be on the platform. And they've done a really good job of adding a lot of those things recently. But again, because we are literal like power users of Sorare, I think we have a very different perspective. And that's why we develop the tools that we do. And that's why we work on the tools that we work on. And the list of things that we want to do is very, very long. And so that's the case. Sorry, I just had something pop up here. So anyway, let me go through. Server says, my process was last night. Conceptualize which contests I wanted to enter. That was step one. I have tons of questions how you did that. 2, went through Discords, Patreons, Twitter for info, curious how long that took. And then 3, just entered my lineup directly into Sorare, saved a lot of time. So do you think your lineups are better this week? after doing that. Smooth Boy, any chance you'll finally allow PayPal payments for Sorare data? We definitely talked about that. I don't know where we are on that, to be honest. That's like way out of my realm of responsibilities. Mike said, I think Sorare should let me start that one over. I think Sorare have to concentrate on getting the gameplay and the markets correct for their site first and foremost. Any functionality in respect of improving times setting is probably quite low. So it's probably just different people. Nanzo said, I think the Sorare UI is generally fine. Honestly, the ability to import lineups is all that's missing. I don't know if that's all that's missing, but I agree that it's fine. And Toby said the Houston Dash game is supposed to go on tonight, which is good, would be good for the Houston Dynamo this weekend. Arthur says, is it possible to play Cap 240 rare if I only ever played limited Cap 240? I don't know. Just go in right now and check. So back to the lineup builder stuff, and I'll just pull up what I have, like what I did from this past week, like for this current game week. So there are things like in the builder that I just don't think Sorare will ever put in the lineup builder, in their lineup builder. So we talk a lot on this channel about like bookmaker odds, and like we have it on our matchups tab, and it's part of the pick scores. That's actually not what I wanted to click, but that's fine. So there are a lot of people who like to, I think there are a lot of people who like to figure out matchup strength on their own, which is like perfectly reasonable. So they look at whatever team that their player plays for, who are they playing, and then they go into like, is it a good matchup? And it's like, where are they in the table? How many goals do they give up and score? Maybe some people look at XG, and they do all of this. What is the weather like? How much travel? Who are the injuries? And you go through all of this, and you're like, okay, I think this is a good matchup for my player. And you go to the lineup builder, or you go to the matchups tab, and you see that his team has like a 75% chance to win, which basically tells you everything that you did all of that work for. And I think that people don't like using bookmaker odds because they don't totally understand them. And they all think like they're all set up so that they get even money on both sides, which is incorrect. And really all it's for is to give you an idea of, is this a good matchup or not for my player? And if they're on a team that has a 9% chance to win based on the odds, that's bad. And you could go through all of these steps to come out with this calculation of whether it's good or not, when there are other people, particularly sports books, that are doing that work for you. So that's why we use it so often. And there generally isn't a big difference between a team that's like 80% to win and one that's 78% chance to win, but it's a slight difference. And then you can see the odds for them to score a lot. Maybe one team has an 80% chance to win, but they are extremely good defensively and don't score a lot of goals. So like they may have the 80% chance to win 1-0, whereas another team might have an 80% chance to win 4-2 because they're not that good defensively, but they score a ton of goals. And those things kind of matter in helping you make your lineup decisions. But going through every single game and trying to do that work on your own doesn't feel as fruitful as just looking at the odds. And I'm not saying that the odds are right. I mean, there's no like right odds, but you could disagree with them, surely. But they generally just give you the idea of, is this a good matchup or not? And I really don't see any situation where Sorare puts sportsbook odds on their website. for how much they really try to distance themselves from gambling. I just don't see it happening. And then there's other information that we put on Sorare data. How many fantasy points does the opposing team give up to left backs? Like, that's what we have on the site. Is that better than league average? Is it worse? Like, that's what the matchup indicators show. And there are just things in the lineup builder, last 15 scores, being able to very easily, like, before I say this, I guess it's probably easy to see home and away. You also better know what your club logos, or at least the fake ones. I picked U23. It's funny, I'm going through all this and I kind of like forgot what's actually on the lineup builder. And of course I have no cards. So this, I think right here, is why we don't have an import button. And so it's kind of like on Sorare data, like I'll go to my lineup builder for this game week. And I'll be like, oh, all-star. And I'm like, oh, I don't have a goalie. And then it's like, do I not play? But here it's like, oh, I don't have a goalie. Maybe I'll buy one now. Maybe I'll buy one of the two guys from the same team and hope that I get the right one. But anyway, so it's just like, it's things that I don't think are going to end up in the lineup builder on Sorare data. I mean, the pick scores, as you can see here, like you can see the scoring history. I assume you like, and again, this is starting to feel like I'm kind of crapping on what they do, but like, this is fine and all. And you can put in like just home game. Mealing's probably a bad example because hasn't been that good. But like, it's there. And like, that's helpful. The upcoming games, I don't really care about for like anything beyond this one game. But again, it's just there again. It's just stuff that I don't think that they are ever going to put in the lineup builder, and that's okay. And so this is where I agree with Nanzo. Third-party apps are the right place for research tools. The platform should remain vanilla. Like, and there was a lot of talk about people saying Sorare should have, Sorare should want people to be on their website a lot. And if you're not showing ads, it almost doesn't matter. And I don't think Sorare will ever have ads on their site for the pure reason that we are on Sorare to do one of two things: buy cards. Well, I'll call it 2.5 things. Buy and sell cards are the half thing, and submit lineups. That's it. So you do not want to have a website that sells something and then advertise for people to spend their money on something else. Like, you don't want somebody to be on your website thinking, I really want to buy this JPEG for this lineup that I have. And then they have an like a Google ad pop up and be like, hey, remember you were looking for like a new pair of pants? Well, here's a nice pair of pants for the same price as that JPEG. And you're like, I'm going to go buy those pants. They don't want that. Like, there's no reason for Sorare to have ads on their site. It's not enough money. And this whole like, oh, so many people are on the website. It's not that many people. It's not enough people that Sorare would cannibalize their own direct revenue to have those ads. And so it's just not there. Service said, important clarification. I still use the pick scores in the game week center, which the lineup builder uses extensively. I don't consider pick scores part of the lineup builder, but that's just semantics. Oh, that's interesting that you don't. But I get it. Gia said, time is the most expensive. Yes, but next time before the show about preparation, watch Joe Rogan's episode with Billy Walters. I think somebody mentioned that to me recently. Anyway, hey, Ben. Yes, you're late. Hopefully you're using that time well and doing something happy. So I just think that there are a lot of ways that people are like, I hate to say you're wasting time, but there are a lot of people who are just wasting time. And then in places where you can gain time, or excuse me, People are spending too much time on things that they don't necessarily want to do, or they want to do it, they just don't want to do it as long as it takes. And that's stopping them from doing other things. So this, like, the reason why the button is so important to us, people who are looking to like save time, is I don't, and frankly, it's like stressful time. Like maybe I don't, I actually think I think my lineup timing is optimal. Like I do most of my lineup. I kind of do drafts throughout the week. Thursday, I try to solidify them Thursday night. And then Friday morning, when we get all of the news, is when I start putting them in. And it's like, it's a stressful hour as much as you can make fantasy sports like stressful. And so it's just not, that's not positive time for me. And I would rather use that time to just like make sure everything is okay. And it's just not. And again, it's not about the button, but it is just about saving time on things that, like when you're on Sorare, I'm really trying to tread lightly here because I don't want to just like crap all over Sorare, because that's not fair to them, because I think the criticism is unfair that I'm about to give them. But like even on the market, like if you're looking for a card, they want you to buy one either from the auction or an instant buy. And because that like maximizes their revenue, which I totally get. And I'm cool with that. But I also don't think sorare.com is the best place to see how much you should pay for a card. And I think basically what you should pay for a card should be similar to what previous people have paid. And like not all of the info is on Sorare. And so now you're kind of like trying to see what the last few cards have sold for. Do they even have that here? Yeah. Like recent sales, they'll show auctions and public offers, but it just doesn't ultimately feel like you are making the most informed purchasing decision. And so that's why people use Sorare data to like see what other cards have, if there have been trades, how much those cards go for. And it feels like Sorare kind of enforces it. Sorare basically pushes you in a direction to buy the most expensive card. Not like they want you to buy the new season, and they want you to buy sorry, I got an offer and I had to look at it. And so it's using Sorare data allows you to see like old season cards and how much those go for. And it just doesn't feel like everything that you do on Sorare is giving you the entire picture. And so now you're kind of like using more time to figure out how much cards have sold for. And again, this is like very quickly done on Sorare data, which is sort of the point. Like the reason we show all of that is because at one point, Maxime was like, "Oh, I wonder how much these cards have go for, and how much these cards have sold for." And there was nowhere. So here's one page that shows you. Nanzo says, since instant buy, Sorare seem happy to fleece the uninformed, which doesn't sit well with me personally. So I don't feel like they're getting fleeced. And it's possible they're informed. I'm fairly certain that. So like the reason you pay more for instant buy is to instantly have that card. Like if you want a new season card, you have to pay a premium to get it right now. And I think that's totally fine. I believe Pranksy's Bayer Leverkusen collection was almost all instant buy. And that's on Pranksy. They wanted to spend, they wanted those cards immediately. And Sorare was like, okay, if you want these cards right now, you're going to have to pay premium. And Pranksy was like, okay, bye. Bye. And so I don't think that, I think it's unfair to say that they're fleeced. I am curious, and I wish Vita was here because he like teased us internally on this before. Let me see if he answered. Yeah, still nothing. But basically, like wondering when most instant buys are done. Like, how many people are instantly buying cards the deadline day when they are like going into the lineup submitter, and that's when they find out, oh man, I need a whatever. Let me go to the market and just instant buy. And I just don't think that happens. Let's see. Sorry, there was more. Nanzo said, for example, when I play Rivals, it suggests upgrading from my super rare to limited. So I think that's so funny. I noticed that too. Like if you have old season anythings, they're like, hey, upgrade with this limited that's new. And it's like, surely we can figure something better than this. Mike said, if Sorare had ads, I would pay no attention to them whatsoever, as I'm there to do a specific thing. Ads have no impact because I'm not interested in anything else when I'm doing Sorare activities. Yeah, I mean, I just don't think ads make any sense on Sorare. And I think that people think that ads pay a lot more than they do. Like, I don't understand why people think ads provide so much money. I don't know why. I think people see YouTube videos with millions of views and they're like, oh, just do that. And maybe they ignore the fact that there are like maybe 40 to 50,000 truly active users on Sorare, like those who are like submitting lineups every week. And regardless if we each spend 100 hours on Sorare every week, there's still only 50,000 of us. And any advertiser wants more people with less time than fewer people with more time. Agent Cooper said, I'd pay good money to watch a job swap TV documentary where the Sorare data staff and Sorare staff swap jobs. Laird could take us to the moon, but the Sorare data website would probably crash in 5 minutes. So again, I think that's unfair. I think there's some really, really, really smart and good people at Sorare. And I think that they happen to have a product that is very difficult for them to work on because they have like an extremely passionate user base that loves to complain and not provide feedback. And so you're kind of like building things and you're also trying to build things that people who are not part of the platform want to be involved in, or, to try to get them to be involved in. So it's very difficult. It's really, really difficult for them, which is why there are things that I think don't belong on Sorare that do belong on a site to help you get better at Sorare. And that gives me comfort in my own job prospects. Let's see what else. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up on the chat here. Ben said, I think the perception comes from YouTubers being rich. Yeah, I think that's totally it. Like we see Nellis and we're like, man, that's easy. Let's just go do that. So Nanzo said sponsored tournaments probably make more sense than ads per se. And Toby said sponsored tournaments could definitely make sense. So the problem with sponsored tournaments is that there aren't that many companies that need to get their name out to a worldwide audience. And one said, just like with FIFA, having a Nike promo could be good for everyone. So like Nike's one of those companies, yes, that can that could advertise to a global audience and it'd be fine. The problem, again, is what really does Nike get out of sponsoring a tournament that 30,000 people will play? Like Nike's not trying to sell 30,000 pairs of sneakers or new boots or whatever. It's like Sorare is just not big enough for a company like Nike. And so, but companies that are big enough to want, like companies that are the size to want to advertise to a user base the size of Sorare are so small that none of us are, there aren't enough people in the same location to make it worth it. Excuse me. So it's just like, it's just not viable. Like Ben Cook is like the MLS Special Weekly presented by Walmart. But like basically everyone outside of the US, they're just like, like Walmart doesn't need to advertise to all of the users in Italy. Ben says crypto projects collabs all the time. I just don't think it's a good fit for Sorare to have the Axie Infinity Cap 220 special. Yeah, I agree. Quaggadev said, would people want sponsored special edition cards so that the brand gets theoretically continual exposure? Like, obviously we would want it, but what does that really give the brand? Jonathan said, what percentage of people that play Sorare that haven't heard or own Nike? So it has nothing to do with that. It's not what's the benefit to Sorare. It's why does Nike need to use Sorare? Mike said Sorare tells us it has 2 million users. Yeah, I mean, Andy said match-worn shirts or mystery shirts would be the size of companies that might make sense, but no way the juice is worth the squeeze. Who's getting what out of it, right? So exactly, like a company like, so this is actually an interesting one to in terms of like a sponsored tournament, like match-worn shirts. Have they ever done that? And Andy, you've been in, like, did they ever have like an early? I feel like there was one. Was it baseball? I feel like they had one of these where they had like a sponsored tournament that the top 3 people, whatever it was just like, it wasn't big enough either. But I guess a brand like that, but again, how many of these can you run? Surface said large brands have constant advertising exposure. It's about regular bombardment on audiences. Everyone watching the Super Bowl knows Budweiser, but they advertise there every year. Right. But like, there are fewer people who play Sorare than in half of the stadium for a Super Bowl. Like, it's like Sorare is not big enough to convince Budweiser to advertise. And Budweiser is there's no reason for Budweiser to like get in on Sorare early. Like, if Sorare blows up, then Budweiser will be like, hey, can we advertise with you? But there's no benefit to doing it now from the company's perspective. Ben said Surface has a point. Continual exposure can be effective. I may already have Nike stuff and see their ads everywhere, but they just need an ad to show the day I need a new pair of shoes. Again, I'm not discounting that at all. What I'm discounting is the number of people in this community that it's like literally not worth even the time for Budweiser to figure out if they should advertise to a community of 30,000 people, 50,000 people, whatever it is. Quaggadev said, I do think there are companies that can benefit, sports data aggregators that no one has heard of, but a few developers may eventually need. I don't know what that is. What is a sports data aggregator? Ben says, not a great sign for future advertisers that we don't know who it was that did the MLB comp. I don't even remember if it was an MLB comp, to be honest. I mean, they did like a MLB TV one, but that was, I assume, just part of their licensing agreement. Nixon said, more people play Sorare than watch the Super Bowl outside of North America, which is not true, but it's also not that many people. Yeah, it's, again, the ads are just, it's literally a non-starter at this point. And I mean, that's okay. They don't need to like force ads on us to make another like $1,000 a month. Quaggus Deb said like Genius Sports. I don't even know what Genius Sports is. Genius Sports. Sports innovation. Built on genius. I don't want to read all of this. Hold on. Sports data and technology company that provides data management, video streaming, and integrity services to sports leagues, bookmakers, and media companies. So, like, that seems like more of a B2B company. So, like, why would they advertise here? Mike said it's literally is the same as what Nellis said in your stream with him the other week. The bigger he got, the more companies became interested, but it didn't mean all of them were worthwhile opportunities. Exactly. Quagga said you need 6 of the 50,000 to be software developers looking to make a sports app like Sorare Data, and they'll make enough for it to be worthwhile. Maybe. I don't know. It's an Opta competitor. Okay. Ben said Sorare's balance sheet might be fine. I'm often confused by the fact that community views Sorare as a going concern. I agree with that, Ben. I think there's way too much concern. Andy said, even if one of these companies offered like $5,000 in prizes a week to blast our asses with ads, is it really worth it? No. Now, frankly, I think you could get away with like 5,000 in prizes and not have to blast our asses with ads, like just naming like a contest name. But I just don't think it's there. Gia said, ads primitive thinking. You're right, it's a non-starter in this situation, but they should explore Quinny-like virtual club stadium fan base avenue, but that is a complicated idea. I mean, maybe they're looking into that. I'll be honest, I don't even know what it means. Service said they have analytics to determine quickly if it's worth their time. Also, the audience size and context matters. So I think their biggest problem is their audience size. It's just way too small. And having 50,000 users who spend 10 hours a week on your website is very different than 50,000 users who spend 1 hour. And you want the 50,000, like you want the bigger number of users. You don't want the biggest number of time, because you can't advertise to the same person over and over and over again. Like, you need to advertise to more people. And so they need more users to even have the possibility of convincing a company that literally sells billions of dollars worth of goods every year to advertise on a site with 30,000, 50,000 people. Yeah. Ben said, how about we just find a Saudi oil tycoon to pump $1 billion into the platform? I don't think it's just like, what is Pranksy doing? Not to say Pranksy's a Saudi oil tycoon, but who knows? Yeah. Ben said, we were going to get facilities in a stadium this time last year. It was definitely their vision to build a virtual club. Oh, okay. Yeah. Again, it's still the same number of people spending more time on the site. Surfer said, advertising to the same person over and over is an important advertising strategy. Honestly, it's advertising 101. Advertising to the same people over and over again is an important strategy if there are enough people. But there are not enough people. That's my point right now. There are not enough people to have this conversation. Vita, what's up? Does anybody remember what I was asking Vita before? Oh, the instant buy. Yeah. You missed the whole instant buy conversation, Vita. Dream Oblivion says, I think betting sites would gladly run ads. So that's a really tricky one, because I think you're totally right, but also they are very geographically limited. And so, not that you can't just advertise to like UK Sorare users, but like a UK sportsbook advertising to me is worthless because I can't play. Nixon said, if you show 10 ads to 10 people, you have 10 potential customers. If you show 10 ads to the same person, you have a brand new ad block user. That's really good. Vita said, I spend like 1 hour compiling data. I missed the show. Wow, we're 55 minutes in. I didn't realize that. And betting sites are a pretty big competitor. So that's also another tricky one, though. Exactly. So Ben, that was probably better. That's probably a better point than I made with the pants thing. That if you're like, should I buy this? So I think Bayer Leverkusen are going to win the Europa League final, and I think they're going to win to 0. Do I go buy? I just went to cement my lineup, and I don't have a goalie. Do I instant buy that goalie, or do I just throw $20 on Bayer Leverkusen to win to 0? Thanks to this ad from Patty Power right here. What do you like? What do Sorare want their users having that option? And the answer is absolutely not. Quaggus, I think there is value to both dimensions, more people and more continual exposure to the same. Marketers would calculate the relative value of each differently, but some would see the draw to Sorare. Like, I'm not saying that advertising on Sorare is bad for every company in the world. It's just that the number of companies that it actually could possibly be interested is so low that spending the time to find them is just not. I just don't think it's worth it. Back to the time thing. I actually don't think it's worth Sorare's time. Tuggy said, to be fair, the best advertising they can do is through the users showing off their rewards and how much they won. Boost prize pools, users show that off on social media or talk to friends. I mean, it's always been that case. Mike said, throw $20 on Leverkusen, then win and have more money to spend on Sorare for a better keeper than Herdeshki. Maybe that's the key. Can't afford Herdeshki now? Go throw a parlay on this game and you'll have more money. But you buy the goalie. This is right, Nixon, because a bet doesn't have future utility unless you win that bet and then you have more money. Yeah, I just don't think it's there. Surface said, I think the reason we are talking about this for an hour is because it reflects a bigger issue that the prize pools aren't big enough from the perspective of the users. I actually think that has nothing to do with it. I feel like our conversation was much more about people being worried that Sorare isn't making enough money. But if it is about the prize pools, I mean, that pretty much is the same thing. I think if Sorare are making a ton more money, the prize pools would be bigger. Little chicken and the egg. Vita said, weather company would sell a bunch of memberships if they could predict reschedule level events for MLS games. Yeah. Ben said the best advertising they had was a threshold. So many people spending $1,500 for a shot at $50 a week. So their best advertising was also their biggest hindrance to growth. So it wasn't, I mean, it got people interested, but it also was like literally going to kill their company. Nixon said, I say a bet has no future utility, but neither does Herdeshki. That's not fair to Lucas. Come on. How did we get to this point? I don't remember where. This has nothing to do with time. Oh, I guess it was time spent on the site. Like, I don't know. I don't think time spent on Sorare is a valuable index in a positive way. Or, like, what do you want to spend your time on Sorare doing? I think that's probably the real question. If the answer is buying, like, so I use Sorare data all the time, and I imagine that most people who watch this do. Ben is leaving now to go study, which is probably a better use of his time. Good luck, Ben. Thank you for coming. Please like on your way out. Where was I going with that? Right. So most of my time on Sorare is spent on Sorare data. And I think it's kind of this weird, I don't want to call it a misunderstanding, but there are a lot of people who use Sorare data, whether it's with a star membership or without, who either they're doing lineups or they're looking at matchups or they're looking at our pick scores or they're using any one of our tools and they come upon a player that they're interested in. And they use our tools to see how well they've scored, to see, get more information about their team, where they play. Is the recent form because of an injury to somebody, or did they win a spot? Was there a new coach? Although that's not really on Sorare data. But they do all of this stuff, and then they go to the market, and how much do their limited cards sell for? How much are their rares? Where in my lineup, in my gallery, does it make sense for me to get the rare if I only play limited? Or is it a rare that it's worth me trying to get? And you go through all of this and you're like, okay, do I want to play classic or in season? And you figure out everything you want to do. And then you go over to Sorare and you buy the card. So you spent all that time on Sorare data, and maybe you have a star membership, and so you pay us already. And so you get to do you have access to all of these tools that help you then go spend money on Sorare. So much of what's on Sorare data can lead to you then spending money on Sorare. And a lot of times, like I imagine almost every time, we don't make anything from that. Like you're doing all your research. Someone mentioned like Marwin Hits. Marwin Hits. He's the Basel goalie, plays midweek. So you're going through and you see the pick scores and you're like, oh, he has a game in the midweek. Oh, how much does he cost? And then you go over to Sorare and you buy his card. Like we don't make anything from that. Sorare makes money from that. But you probably did all of it. Like the scouting that you did to get to that conclusion that you wanted that card is really difficult to do on Sorare, which is okay. But it also led to Sorare making money. Although he's probably a bad example because they're not licensed and who knows if they even make a commission on the secondary market. But anyway, you get to find a new card. It's instant buy. You're one of these people that Nanzo think is getting fleeced. But instead, it's like, oh, there's a guy who's playing midweek. I want his new season card because I'll continue to play it in contenders in season all summer. And there are no auctions. There are no new ones on the market. So I'll just instant buy it. And now Sorare just sold a card because of all of this work that you did on Sorare data. And somehow it feels like that's not great. Or like Sorare doesn't want it. Server said, what about going back to the conversation about what Sorare data can do besides the little man in the boat? Besides the little man in the boat to save us time equals currency. Beside the little man in the boat? Should I know what that is? Sorry, that one went over my head. Nixon said, I spend my time on Sorare spinning my 3D cards really, really fast. I haven't done that in a while, actually. Maybe I'll do that a few times today. Mike said, time spent on Sorare is time spent not having to hear stories about the trials and tribulations of my other half's friends or work colleagues. Jackpot. Nanzo said, Sorare could do a better job of tracking our game week progress. Sorare data really outshines Sorare in this respect. So that that's one of the things that I think came out of us being like very active Sorare players. It's like, because it was just something that we were curious. And didn't they start doing that? Like points to rewards or whatever. I agree with this though. And to be honest, I think we could do a better job of tracking and not so much game week progress. I think we do a pretty good job on that, but we have I think entry progress, I think could be improved and sort of do a good job of showing which divisions you were in and all this stuff. But I think that stuff just takes time and yeah. Apparently what's the little man in the boat? RIP Mrs. Laird. I'm guessing that's I don't know what it means. Oh. Wait, why? I don't see the connection to Sorare data. What I can do. Is that more time for that surface? I've literally never heard that phrase, but now I'm going to use it all the time. So thank you for that. If anybody's curious, it's on Urban Dictionary. Interesting. I literally never heard that phrase before. Anyway, I get it now. I get it now. Yeah, for anybody who wants to go, you can go look at that yourself. This is a family show. Geez, Surface. So was it? So I think I don't know how much Sorare data saves time for people who try to do things on Sorare. Like I really don't know how people are comfortable with what they do on Sorare without using Sorare data. And I think I kind of maybe that's something we need to figure out more. But I would just feel so lost. And maybe it's because I was gonna say I grew up using Sorare data, but like in my Sorare life, I grew up like always using Sorare data. Literally, when I started, someone from Sorare told me to use Sorare data, and obviously, since I started working here, it's like all I do. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. Nixon said I googled that and thoroughly regret. Really, you regret googling it? But yeah, like just finding players that you want to buy. Like, how do you do that? How do you do it? And if you do it by going to like FBref or SofaScore and like grinding box scores, and man, it's just much easier on. Yeah. Server said, seriously though, do you think the lineup builder could get a universal toggle for scarcities? I want to pick limiteds for limited, champ challenger, but it's frustrating having to filter it every time. I guess. I don't know. Vita, is that doable? It's funny you say that because literally one of my limited lineups this week is all rares and super rares. But I'm guessing for a gallery your size, like I get it. Do you not just do limiteds last? But I understand that frustration, Surface. That's a good point. Yeah. To be honest, I didn't. Well, maybe I did know that. Yeah. There you go, Surface. It's on the list. Like everything. Nixon said, when I started using Sorare, their official account DM'd me and told me to use Sorare data 6 months ago. Is that right? For what purpose, Nixon? Like, did you ask them for something, or like, I understand not joining Sorare and immediately joining Sorare data. Sorare data can be quite overwhelming, I think, for new people. And part of that is on me in creating more content of telling people how to use it or explaining, excuse me, not telling them, but it just feels like you're at such a disadvantage if you don't use it. Mike said, to avoid that, I do my rare lineups first. Yeah. So, I mean, I do my super rare lineups first because it's like those are the most important ones to me. Service said I do limiteds on Wednesday to get them out of the way. Oh, okay. That makes sense, actually. Yeah. Okay. Finding players, go on the auction and buy on impulse. Quagga Dev, my biggest Sorare data ask is that we be able to filter remaining games in a given game week by the contest. Let me see which games are left in Challenger. I don't know the Belgian league well enough. So the easiest way to do that is the matchups page. Every time a game is played, it falls off the matchup page. I think it has to be completed. But so basically, if you like look at contenders, like every time one of these games are played, it falls off. So you'll see. Now, granted, this doesn't tell you when the game is being played, and but between us, just like we're redesigning this page, so don't worry about it. We'll get you. Yeah, we'll get there. Quagga Dev. Some of the designs that I've seen for the stuff that we're going to do in the next few months is like, it's really cool stuff. Like really, really cool. Mike also says you can filter leagues on the games page. That is also true. If you go here, you can do it by, that's just league though. Yeah, I don't really like that either. This one's going to change anyway. But like, seriously, they're really cool. No sneak peek yet. It's a little too far away. Mike Basson, why is center spelt the US way? Never spotted that before. It's been like that since the beginning. Is Silic starting today? I didn't even consider looking. Vita, you got it. Silic starting and already conceded? No, Silic isn't. Wait. Sorry. Oh, no. Oh, I see. Because it was I see what you're saying. Vita said Dev has already started. So technically you'll be able to leak it sometime soon, I guess. Oh, let's go. Let's go, everyone. Oh, you want to do it in the app? I think you can do it in the app too. Let's see. In the my concern is that I don't even remember which leagues are in Challenger. Yeah, hold on. I think oh, maybe we don't have that. Huh. Yeah, I guess we don't. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, in the app you can only look at the matchups for the next game week. Yeah. I think it was more of to be able to just see all of the remaining lineups. Excuse me, all the remaining matches like in a competition. But yeah, we'll get there at one point, Quagga. Don't worry. Don't worry. Yeah, exactly. I can't decide if what word is used more often, soon or yet, for Sorare data stuff. Yeah. Wow, hour and 14 minutes. Look at us, guys. Sorry, I've been yapping away. I really have nothing else to do, though. Or at least nothing that is time pressing. I'll put it that way. I got to finish a video. That's all. Not this one. Yeah. What's the schedule for the rest of it? You don't even want to know, Mike. What time is it now? I don't even know. 1:14. Nanzo said, Sorare data ask a field to add player predictions from other sources. Yeah, that's not as easy as you think. I mean, adding it, I'm sure, is easy, but I mean, I say easy. I have no idea how easy any of this stuff is. Player predictions from other sources. What other sources do you want, Nanzo? Oh, I was going to talk about. Do I want to talk about Sorare? Do I want to talk about lineup projecting experts? Do we want to talk about that? I don't know if I really want to talk about that. We just need the chat. I'm curious what you guys, or just override the current community predictions. Well, we do override them by when our top predictors are. Can you bring back the ability to see guys who are currently playing in the leaderboard screen? I think that's on our list. Yeah. So the lineup projections, obviously, since the closure of Plays Harper, people are kind of going all over the place for like lineup projections. And I'm more the type of person who will like go into a Discord. I did this on the Sorare Argentina one this morning and just ask somebody to guarantee that one of my players would start so I could blame them later. And that's really all we want from like lineup projections. We just want somebody to tell us that our player is starting so that if they're not, we can blame them and not take any responsibility, which I do it. So like no judgment here, but the use of the word expert is really interesting to me, and one that like we kind of go back and forth. But the thing that popped out at me recently was there is a certain league on Sorare that will remain nameless that is very difficult to project. And we had this conversation internally about some of the people who were not putting projections on Sorare data, and they were actually getting essentially the same number right, if not worse, than Sorare data, which everyone is just like, oh, all Sorare data is just like a bunch of like sheep who are putting in the same lineup as last week, and it's really not that good. But it's actually just as good as people who are like projecting on these other like lineup projection sites. And so I'm curious what you guys think is a reasonable accuracy threshold to call somebody an expert, or what accuracy level would you feel comfortable following somebody's projections? I'll put it that way. And hold on. Brad, Sorare data app request. Can we get a little red dot next to the player's score that indicated the player was still on the pitch in the live matches? Do we not have that? We might not. I don't know. So I think Blue Tomatoes and Sorare Juju, whose first two responses were 82% and 85% respectively, are reasonable. Mike said expert is an overused word in modern day life alongside world class and legend. In fairness, world class is 2 words, but I know what you're saying. So not every Toby said, I think Golden Nallen is usually around 85. I'd say they are very good. And so Swordfish, I think you kind of hit something here. Individual experts project their knowledge through comments with their picks that show their reasoning and sources. So if we had the ability to just comment on Sorare data, would that change everything? Sorare DNP is a good site for do your own research. I don't know what Sorare DNP is, but that seems like a good site for somebody else doing research and you just copying it. And is that really doing your own research? Toby said Deke is excellent because he explains why someone has the percentage he gives them. So I think what Sorare Deke does is incredible. And I cannot believe he puts that much effort into it for what feels like minimal gain. But thank you, Deke, for doing all of that work. Particularly last night after like midweek matches is nuts. But Quagga said, like, who's catching the actual changes rather than picking all the regulars over and over? So I think the difficulty with the way that we do that we do lineup projections is that it's not completely understood how we do them, despite trying to tell everyone how we do them. But also because there is like a herd mentality on previous projections, and there is. So I think there are times where we like there's an obvious one that's wrong, but because enough people don't know that why it's wrong, like it just gets fed through. So I don't think it's like perfect, but none of them are perfect. And I think that's sort of the point, is that people kind of take one-off situations where they're like, Sorare data is wrong on this player, like the community, like he was out last game, but he's going to be back, and everybody says he's out. But like, it's this weird dynamic because it's like maybe that's the only one that like the community got wrong, and like the experts got two others wrong that the community got right. But it's so like percentage wise, it's the same. I don't know where I'm going with that. Nixon said there's a difference between getting it wrong because you had to guess two center backs from three and choosing a striker who tore his ACL the week before. So I think that's totally right. And I think part of the reason that Sorare data ones are, like I said, misunderstood is because they will literally, like, somebody will tear his ACL and people will have put projections in like before it comes out that he got hurt, or that's a lot of it what it is. And then when the news comes out, they don't go back and change them. So I agree. What I don't agree with is the number of times that it happens. Like it may happen to like a big player and people make a huge deal of it, but it actually doesn't happen nearly as much. And people want to say that that's wrong, but it's just not. Like, our accuracy percentages are much higher than I think people think they are. And what's interesting is that there are some leagues where the percentages, even for our leaders, are not that high, but I've yet to see a better alternative. And Toby says, D gets plenty wrong doesn't mean he's not fantastic, because he is. So again, like, it's really hard for me to say, like, projected lineups feels a lot like when you make your own lineup and you're like, I think this player is going to do better than this player. And so you put player A in your top lineup and player B ends up scoring more. And it's like, you weren't wrong. It's just what happened was the smaller outcome. And so you can say somebody's 90% to start, but sometimes the 10% just happens. And I don't know. Leandro said, maybe not an expert. Not sure you can be a projection expert. Just someone who enjoys doing the research for a given league. The guys that do Patreons are good for this. So, yeah, no, I think that's right. I think the guys who I think what I ultimately have problems with, and maybe it's because I think we're very transparent with how we do things on Sorare data, but there's also some transparency. Like, I think we can be more transparent on more. But I think if you look at all the lineup projectors that you do, like, how many of them, like, how many can you find out how good they are? Like, realistically, there's like, oh yeah, I used to do these for Play Sharper, and now I do them here. Or like, how good are you? And if the answer is you're really good at sending all the news, but you're really, you don't get the lineup that right. Like, I'm not like trying to crap on these people who say that they're experts, because they're doing way more work than I am. And frankly, I'm just taking advantage of their work by saving time by not doing the work myself. But I just would love to know how accurate they are. And I think that some of them are not nearly as, Either some are not nearly as accurate as we think they are, or they are very accurate and yet are not as accurate as Sorare Data Community. Mike said there were definitely some more informative people on Plays Harper, which gave you more confidence that if something didn't happen, it was probably last minute or deliberately undisclosed. Yeah, that's fair. Totally fair. Vita said being right when you put everything at 60% ain't also the same as being very affirmative and putting a lot of 90 plus players. As a Sorare player, 60% confidence does not help me at all. So I think the other difficulty is that one person's 70% is another person's 90%. And I don't think there's ever a way to kind of normalize those numbers. And Mike, I agree here that the biggest uproar is when it's a big player that's out. Yeah. Toby said it's just how the brain works. You remember the one egregious error, but you don't remember the 4 minor things. That was correct. Yeah. Quagga said maybe a time-weighted algorithm so that the latest predictions with latest news are given more weight in the overall percentage. So it's funny you say that because we've decided to weigh the more accurate predictors more. So like when we have our full confidence, it's because, our most successful predictors have put in their projections, and they tend to put them in later when the news is known. So what you're asking for is essentially what we do now. It's just not like we came to the same endpoint, but we didn't take the same road. Nixon said the better solutions is either spending hundreds a month on Patreons for every league or just watch every single football game ever. Yeah. Now imagine how much more likely you would be to have the time to spend watching every single football match ever if we had the button. One said MLS is extra hard to predict because the injury report usually comes out after the Sorare deadline. So that is true, but also most leagues don't even have an injury report. Surface said, I agree. Patreon guys are the best, but you have to play at a certain level for them to make sense. I'm paying about $40 a month plus for Patreons. Yeah. And you have to have the time to read all of them. Really the best thing about Plays Harper was that it was everything in the same format in the same way. Obviously the percentages were not the same, but it was here's a list of games, click, got it. That's it. That was the best thing about that site. Nanzo said, accuracy is the wrong metric. Can you give me the best information an hour or two ahead of the deadline is more important. Anything can happen post that. That affects accuracy. So you're not wrong about that. And really, if a player is announced in the starting 11 and gets injured in the warm-up and then doesn't start, if you projected them to start, you're wrong. They didn't start. But also you were right, and you were right until you were wrong. Sean says the issue with Sorare data projections is on the US East Coast. I have to do lineups Thursday night. Now I understand how it works. I think the accuracy is much higher. It's just too late for my schedule. I mean, it's 10 a.m. The deadline's 10 a.m. on Friday. You got plenty of time. Server said, do you think it's possible Sorare would cave on the button issue with enough community pressure, or is it just a non-starter that is a waste of Gator guys' time? I think that the only reasonable way for Sorare to look at it is, does it make sense for them from a revenue perspective? I think that's generally, they're at a point now where everything they do needs to be considered in that respect. And saving someone time doesn't necessarily mean they're spending more money on the site. It could, absolutely could. And again, that's not to mean that they shouldn't make small changes because it makes their users happy. But if they think that people are going on to Sorare to submit their lineups and then realizing that they are missing a player and can immediately go buy something. That makes them more money than having them build somewhere else and then either not buying that card or something else. Again, I think if you were doing the same, like I think the outcome is exactly the same, except, well, the outcome is not the same. If you're building on Sorare and you're like, oh, I need a card, and there's an instant buy right there, like buy this card right now, and it's in your lineup. That card probably gets purchased for more money than if you were on Sorare data and you're like, oh, I'm missing a card, and you do your research on Sorare data, and then you go onto the market and you know that there's an older season card that's cheaper, or an auction coming up, or secondary market, like it's a little cheaper, and so you go buy that card, and Sorare doesn't make as much money. And so the idea is like, what is Sorare's incentive to spend development time on allowing people to submit lineups from a third party? Now, I have no idea what the development time or cost is to Sorare. Given that it's possible to do it from MLB and NBA, my thought is literally nothing. Like, I don't think there was ever a point where one of the Sorare MLB or NBA, I can't remember if it's both or just one, but like somebody talked to Sorare and was like, can you build this for me so that we can submit lineups from my site? And so the development time could be zero, other than, yes, we allow it now. So maybe it's not totally zero. But I think saving people time is not enough incentive for Sorare to work on it. So I think it's possible, sure. But I think people have to be like, oh man, not using, like, if you were able to submit your lineups you can build your lineups all week. And during that week, you could figure out that you're missing something, and then you buy it. And then by the time you submit your lineups, like, you're okay. Like, I don't know how many people are putting their lineups in 20 minutes before the deadline, and that's when they realize, oh no, I'm missing a card. Let me just go buy this one that they're recommending to me. So if you were able to just import your lineups 10 minutes before, that means you've spent the entire week filling those holes, and usually filling holes means buying cards. Philly Dilly, regarding percentages, how about every lineup submitted gets one position where they can select two players? The projector gets credit if either player starts. We get to see where they think the weakest spot is. Why only two, though? What if there's 11 questionable spots? Sorry, Quagga said, feel free to not read this out loud, so I'm literally following that. Oh, that is interesting. I am going to read this out loud. There may be a Bayesian approach that uses high accuracy guys to set informative priors, and it takes a bunch of people disagreeing with them to move the needle. So I think that's a really interesting idea in theory. The problem is that, again, these like high accuracy predictors are actually submitting their lineup, submitting their projections much later. And so like they're not even comfortable putting them in early because they know they're wrong, or at least have an idea that they're wrong. Nanzo said, a better user experience is everything. I know whales that have left because Sorare takes up too much of their time. So there are plenty of people who were like, this is too much time. I don't think that they left because like using the Sorare website takes up too much time. Like, nobody leaves for that reason. Gia said, so considering Sorare's financial decision-making situation, how about a Bud Light South Park Special Edition MLS card, which 1.99% bonus for the first 20 uses are coming. Vita said, Sorare is the only pay-to-win where paying more means you need to spend more time playing. That's funny. Nanzo, how many lineups do you have this game week? You probably didn't even count. I don't know. Surface said, I'm literally considering selling all my limiteds because entering limited lineups into Sorare takes too much. Service, do you put those into Sorare data first? You said you build those first. Like if you built them on Wednesday, if you could import them, would you just import them on Wednesday or would you wait? Export them from Sorare data, import them to Sorare, something like that. But Surface, that's not the first time you've said that either. And it's interesting. Nanzo said, no idea how many lineups, but I'm scaling out of limited and rares due to time. So Nanzo, are you scaling out because of the time it takes to actually submit them into Sorare, or is it even building them in Sorare data takes too much time? Vita said that he sold out all of his limiteds 2 months ago, but it's not about entering lineups. It's also maintaining a gallery that takes time. It all adds up. Yeah. Nanzo, would you ever just use the latest Sorare data lineup, suggest a lineup for all of your limited ones? Or is that actually not even worth it? The button of the super button. That's not the super button yet, but yeah. Yeah, it's just Sorare takes a lot of time. And Dream Oblivion said, can we do the opposite and add the button on Sorare data to import drafts from Sorare? I have no idea. I don't think so. Because I don't think Sorare want people to be able to see what's submitted before the deadline. And I think they used to be able to do that. Like you used to be able to do that. I think they closed that loophole. But I'm not sure that actually saves any time because you're still having to put all your lineups into Sorare and then possibly changing them all on Sorare. I feel like that actually is longer. Nanzo, does scaling out mean you're just, slowly selling out of limiteds? I mean, Nanzo, you have just a lot of lineups anyway, so it's like, let me see here. I might be able to see this right here. What game week is this? 477, right? We pulled everything in Vita. Okay, 155 managers with at least 50 lineups. Nanzo has 115 this game week. My God. 115 lineups. Pranksy has 92. That's the second most. But I don't know if surely we've imported them all. Yeah, I forgot what time it was. It's a lot of lineups, Nanzo. I imagine that takes a lot of time. I mean, Nanzo, what did you say? 30 seconds per lineup? Ish? Or did you say under 30? Heaven forbid you make a mistake. So it's an hour, right? 3,450 seconds. If you did 30 seconds per, and then 57 and a half minutes. Nanzo said, slowly selling limited sets it's not practical to submit them with the quality I would like. That's fair. That's fair. So that's an hour of not even just of figuring out who to play. It's actually just submitting, like putting the lineups in. Major FT said I had a 15. I felt like that was a lot. Yeah. Yeah. It's we would love to spend time on Sorare. It's just I think I almost feel like there's this misunderstanding that Sorare think that time spent on their website is the most important in playing Sorare, and I will 100% disagree with them that that's the case. or they think that time spent on Sorare data is not valuable for Sorare. And again, like, couldn't disagree more with that. It just, yeah. So I was trying to find this video that I did. Oh, this might be it. I wonder if I can show this to you guys here. Because I tried to, yeah, how do I, let me see if I can share this video. So I did this earlier today. Is this going to work? So this is, I just took like a screenshot of my monitor. So on the left is my saved lineup in the lineup builder. And then on the right side is Sorare. And I was trying to show, I was going to put in I think this was for my champ lineup, which I think is a terrible lineup. And I put it in Division 3. But I don't have many champ cards. So this was kind of like the easiest way I could put a lineup in. Like, this is what it looks like. So like, scroll down, try to choose between these two. I don't know how I have a Division 1. And then it's like, I click in. So now my top player, my top goalie, it's the second defender. It's the third midfielder. Scroll down a little bit for the forward. Then I have to scroll a little bit. I don't even remember who's the last one. Oh, Hoffman. So that was without using the search. Captain Hoffman, confirm lineups in. So that's that's 31 seconds. So 32 seconds is this video. And that's for a lineup in a scarcity that I had, or in a competition champion, which I have very few cards in. And so I didn't even have to scroll through anything. So Vita said I got used to typing the names of players. I think I might have that too, actually. Hold on. Do I have that video? Because I did that as well. Maybe. No, this one didn't have it either. I tried to figure out how quickly I could submit a lineup, and I got one in like 20 seconds. And that felt pretty good to me. But again, like, I shouldn't be racing. This isn't something that we should be like rushing through, but it is. And so, I don't know. Nixon said, Sorare don't make money from me spinning my Kim Tae-hwan on their site, but they do make money from me deciding who should be my Belgian forward for next season via SD scouting. Perfect. Yep. That's exactly it. Yeah, it's what we're doing on Sorare that matters. I did 30 with typing, says Vita. Yeah, that makes sense. It's just, I think there's just a more efficient way. That's all it is. That's all it is. All right, I'm gonna go. This might be the longest solo stream I've ever done, actually. It's a long time. There was a time where I never wanted to do solo streams, and now just yapping away. So yeah, thank you to everybody for coming. If you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, all that good stuff. Shout out to Quinny, who was here earlier. Hope he's enjoying his week. Rewards come out in 16 minutes. I have none, so good luck to everybody who's going to win stuff. And good luck with this midweek. Yeah, exactly. How long have we actually spent discussing time? Surface, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to keep going. Excuse me. Yeah. So, Toby, you have a nice Friday. Everyone have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. Hopefully the rotation gods are in your favor this week. And yeah, let's win some cool stuff. And I'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone. Oh no, that's cursing at you, right? Sorry, it was this way. Never mind.